the fake silhouette, avoiding every threat. I wanna stay like a silhouette, but I can't do that, no I can't do that.
Hey internet friends, 2020 has been such a wild year, hasn't it? We're barely halfway through and we've had a near brush with World War III, an impeachment trial, a viral pandemic that shut down the economy, high-profile arrests, coin shortages, GMO mosquitoes, murder hornets, and even bubonic squirrels made an appearance. And most of the aforementioned events have served as a means to restructure our world as we know it. The truth, or at least what's reported on the news as the truth, is certainly stranger than fiction, and yet most folks go about their day watching these curious events play out across the world stage and never stop to say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? According to an article by Newsweek, on July 15, 2020, New York District Court Judge Esther Salas was assigned to an ongoing lawsuit brought by Deutsche Bank investors who had claimed that the company made false and misleading statements about its anti-money laundering policies. Additionally, the suit also alleged the bank failed to properly monitor high-risk customers, including convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Even after Epstein pled guilty and was registered as a sex offender, and more victims started speaking out against him, Deutsche Bank executives still took him on as a high-risk client in 2013. Though employees reportedly worried about the 40 underage girls who had come forward with testimony of Epstein sexually assaulting them. Epstein's bankers knew that his transactions through the bank could be used to further or cover up criminal activity, and perhaps even endanger more women, but to heck with it, right? Deutsche Bank, known for its high-profile clients, still has a policy in place for high-risk clients like Epstein. And these clients are required to be carefully monitored to detect and prevent illegal activity. But Epstein received no such treatment, he just got a free pass to make it rain. Deutsche Bank executives reportedly ignored repeated red flags, including these large cash withdrawals and wire transfers that totaled almost $3 million to women with Eastern European surnames, and people who'd been publicly identified as Epstein's co-conspirators according to the consent order. So like I was saying, this judge was assigned to this lawsuit on July 15th. She was nominated by President Obama as a U.S. District Court judge, making her the first Latina on District Court of New Jersey. 4 days after the Deutsche Bank case was assigned to her, on Sunday night around 5 p.m., a man posing as a FedEx employee rang the doorbell of their home. Daniel, Esther's 20-year-old son, opened the door and was shot and killed by this guy posing as a FedEx employee. And Esther's husband, Mark, a prominent criminal defense attorney, was badly wounded in the attack. Esther was left unharmed. After reports of the shooting surfaced when the shooter was still at large, the FBI announced it would be investigating the incident. I'm recording this on Monday, July 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and about 10 minutes ago, reports surfaced that the suspect accused of shooting the husband and son had died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And while the FBI is exploring connections between the judge and other cases she's recently tried, as well as any connections or enemies her husband might have made in his own profession, given that there's talk he resided over gang-related cases, authorities so far have refused to confirm that Epstein's links to Deutsche Bank could be a possible motive for the shooter. But seeing how this year is going, the FBI is probably going to say that the judge's son died from coronavirus. While we're here, let's do a quick rundown of Deutsche Bank. Founded in Berlin, Germany in 1870, Deutsche Bank is most notorious for aiding Hitler and consolidating his power during World War II. Among other things, Hitler used Deutsche Bank to invade countries and take their oil, since Germany had no oil, and oil is something you gotta have to win a war. We could elaborate at length about how banks play all sides of war, that all wars are bankers' wars. Because banks are able to finance all sides of war, charge interest across the board and collect on it, as well as buy up real estate for cheap in the war-torn areas. After World War II, Allied forces ordered Deutsche Bank to be broken up into 10 regional banks. But over the years, they were consolidated once again. Bain & Company, one of the big 3 American management and consulting firms, took Deutsche Bank on as a client, with our current sitting senator and former presidential nominee Mitt Romney overseeing management, high-profile clients, and all affairs Deutsche Bank became involved in henceforth, given that he was the CEO of Bain & Company during this time. In 2001, the Deutsche Bank building in Manhattan was damaged in the attacks of September 11th. Like World Trade Center 7, even though no plane hit the tower. and demolition of the Deutsche Bank contaminated tower continued for nearly a decade, as it was said to house toxic waste and body parts for many years after the attacks. The tower held all bonds and debts and contracts of clients, and after 9/11, the records of these debts and transactions were totally gone. I've been bringing up Mitt Romney lately in these videos because he's at the nexus of a lot of these events we're seeing play out this year, with his ties to Bain Company. Just like Microsoft, just like Monsanto, just like the Gates Foundation, just like Halliburton, Deutsche Bank is a Bain Company client. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Mitt Romney both started their careers at the Boston Consulting Group and took Boston Consulting Group clients like Monsanto over to Bain Company. Netanyahu went to Israel, and their clients are now what make up the modern military-industrial complex. Of course, you've got to factor in the Bushes and the Carlyle Group into the mix too. Bain is now ran by an Israeli, and all these people, all these groups that I mentioned, they're all one unit. They're one group. Mitt Romney, Bushes, Netanyahu, Dick Cheney, Halliburton, Gates Foundation, Microsoft, Deutsche Bank. They're one group from the very beginning. It's been documented that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are associated with Mossad. And the blackmail operation they had going on Little St. James Island was a Mossad blackmail operation. But we're supposed to hear reports like that and not say anything negative about it. Otherwise, it's considered, you guessed it, anti-Semitic. How dare you? Don't ever say anything about it. The United States foreign policy involving Israel is easily explained by our politicians being blackmailed by Israel. With just about everyone, I'm not saying everybody, but just about everyone being compromised, so you no longer have to wonder why the politicians you elect don't fulfill their campaign promises or do what they're obligated to do. That's my read on the situation anyway, so when I see that a judge assigned to a Deutsche Bank case involving Epstein survives an assassination attempt, a couple of things are going through my head. The first thought is that this is the continuum of a psychological operation on justice, or the idea of justice in the American psyche. Because your physical wounds from contracting whatever corona is, whether it's a cold or a flu or something else, will eventually heal. But your psychological wounds from the lockdown and watching the American justice system crumble before your very eyes will not. That's why psyops are so effective. These mental wounds take a long time to heal. But just because it's a psyop doesn't mean there's not any truth to it. This could be a case of a small group like the people involved in the Epstein operation desperately clinging on for dear life, reacting to the fact that someone is going after them. By boldly going after a judge and her family, it serves a purpose of intimidation, especially for whatever judge eventually presides over the case in the future. Since Esther's family was attacked, I would assume, and I could be wrong, that her grief will be too much to bear, and she'll pull away from this case. So future judges might see this example and think, oh, if I don't play along, the same thing will happen to me and my family. But a move like this also showcases lawlessness, a system that is swinging so far away from law and order and towards chaos. We're seeing this not only with the Epstein case, but across American cities as protests continue. Buildings are burned to the ground, jails are emptied, only to be filled with political prisoners and those who oppose this new normal, or the new abnormal. So, internet friends, what's your takeaway from this incident? This was a quick video today, but I'll be back later this week with a new video, so until then, thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, and supporting my channel on Patreon. Bye!